van rattled along the deserted highway, headlights cutting through the inky blackness. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with nervous tension. We weren't your average SWAT team. We were Nightshade, an experimental unit within the Department of Paranormal Activity. Our mission: investigate the source of the bizarre occurrences plaguing the sleepy town of Hollow Creek. There I was, Captain Ramirez, a grizzled veteran with more wrinkles than years and a healthy dose of skepticism. Beside me sat Dr. Anya Sharma, a resident genius, a walking encyclopedia of the occult with eyes that held a spark of genuine curiosity. In the back, strapped into their tactical gear, were Operatives Jones and Miller, both muscle and caution personified. Hollow Creek wasn't exactly a ghost town, but it might as well have been. The once vibrant streets were deserted, houses boarded up like petrified sentinels. The epicenter of the weirdness, according to eyewitness reports, was a ramshackle Victorian mansion perched atop a windswept hill. It loomed in the distance, a silhouette against the bruised purple sky, an oppressive aura clinging to it like a shroud. As we pulled up the overgrown driveway, the silence pressed down on us, broken only by the mournful creak of a rusted swing set in a neglected yard. Stepping out of the van, I felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, a primal unease that had nothing to do with the biting wind. Dr. Sharma, usually a picture of cool composure, adjusted her glasses nervously. Readings are off the charts, Captain, she muttered, her voice barely a whisper over the howling wind. The EMF reader in her hand crackled with static. Whatever's causing this, it's powerful. We approached the house with measured steps, weapons drawn. The closer we got, the more pronounced the feeling of wrongness became. The air felt heavy, charged with unseen energy. The peeling paint on the facade looked like weeping sores, and the broken windows gaped like vacant eyes. The front door hung ajar, creaking ominously in the wind. Jones, a point man, cleared his throat. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. He kicked the door open, the sound echoing through the dusty interior. The house was a labyrinth of darkened rooms, each one colder than the last. The air hung thick with the smell of decay and something else, something metallic and ancient. We moved cautiously, flashlights cutting through the gloom, revealing dust-laden furniture shrouded in cobwebs. Everywhere we looked, strange symbols were etched onto the walls, swirling sigils that sent shivers down my spine. Dr. Sharma knelt beside one, tracing the symbol with a gloved finger. "These are unlike anything I've ever seen," she murmured, her brow furrowed in concentration. We explored further, finding nothing but eerie silence and the unsettling symbols. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. It came from upstairs. Heart hammering against my ribs, I sprinted towards the source, the others close behind. We burst through a bedroom door, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The room was empty, save for a shattered window and a trail of muddy footprints leading out onto the roof. Frustration bubbled within me. This whole operation felt like a wild goose chase. Just as I was about to order a retreat, Miller, ever the observant one, pointed towards the center of the room. There, etched onto the floorboards, was the same symbol Dr. Sharma had been studying downstairs. But this one, unlike the others, pulsed with a faint, sickly light. As we stared, mesmerized, the floorboards beneath the symbol began to glow, then recede, revealing a hidden passage leading down into darkness. We exchanged wary glances. This wasn't part of the plan, but there was no turning back now. Dr. Sharma, her eyes gleaming with fascination, volunteered to go first. One by one, we descended into the unknown, the darkness swallowing us whole. The passage was cramped and dusty, the air thick with the smell of damp earth. After what felt like an eternity, we emerged into a vast cavernous space. In the center, a pulsating sphere of pure energy hovered, casting an otherworldly light. It throbbed with a rhythm that seemed to resonate deep within my bones. Before we could react, the ground began to tremble. A monstrous roar echoed through the cavern, the sound raw and primal. We looked up in time to see a colossal figure materialize from the swelling energy. It was vaguely humanoid, but with obsidian skin, glowing red eyes, and wings that stretched the length of the cavern. Panic seized me. This wasn't a ghost or a poltergeist. This was something far more terrifying, something straight out of a nightmare. My training kicked in, and I barked orders, adrenaline overriding the primal fear gnawing at me. Fire! Fire everything you've got. Bullets and grenades erupted in a cacophony of noise, but they seemed to harmlessly pass through the entity. It roared again, the sound shaking the very foundation of the cavern. Miller, ever the pragmatist, cursed under his breath. Looks like we're fresh out of options, Captain. Dr. Sharma, surprisingly, remained calm. She pulled out a strange device I'd never seen before, a handheld scanner with an array of blinking lights. This might work, she muttered, her voice barely audible over the din. It's a prototype energy disruptor. Just a theory, but... She didn't get to finish. The entity lunged, its massive hand reaching out to crush us. In a desperate lunge, I shoved Dr. Sharma to the side, taking the brunt of the blow myself. Pain exploded in my shoulder, sending me flying across the cavern floor. As I lay there, my vision swimming, I saw Dr. Sharma point the disruptor at the pulsating sphere. There was a blinding flash of light, a deafening crack that echoed through the cavern. The entity shrieked, a sound that seemed to rip at the fabric of reality itself. It writhed in agony, the energy sphere shrinking, its light dimming. Taking a deep, ragged breath, I struggled to my feet. The entity, weakened but still monstrous, roared and charged at Dr. Sharma. But before it could reach her, Jones tackled it head-on. They went crashing to the floor in a tangle of limbs. Miller, without hesitation, grabbed Jones and dragged him away just as the entity unleashed a torrent of dark energy. The disruptor hummed in Dr. Sharma's hand. She pointed it back at the sphere, her face contorted in concentration. Another blinding flash, another earth-shattering crack. This time, the sphere sputtered and died, plunging the cavern into temporary darkness. When my eyes adjusted, I saw the entity was gone. Only Dr. Sharma remained standing, the disruptor smoking in her hand. Jones and Miller were huddled together, both groaning but alive. Relief washed over me, so intense it almost made me weak. But the feeling was short-lived. As the last vestiges of smoke from the disruptor cleared, a new, chilling sight filled the cavern entrance. A massive tear had ripped open the night sky, swirling with an inky blackness that pulsed with an unnatural energy. And from that tear, a chorus of unearthly shrieks echoed, sending shivers down my spine. We had stopped one entity, but it seemed we'd just opened a doorway to something far worse till we stumbled out of the cavern, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. The tear in the sky remained, a gaping maw revealing a horrifying glimpse into another dimension. The once peaceful town of Hollow Creek felt like the epicenter of a coming storm. We had a victory, yes, but it felt hollow in the face of the unimaginable threat that now loomed above. As the first rays of dawn painted the horizon, I looked at my team, their faces grim and determined. We may not know what we're facing, I said, my voice hoarse, but we face it together. They all nodded, the weight of the situation settling heavily on their shoulders. The news of the freak storm that ripped through Hollow Creek spread like wildfire. There were reports of strange lights, tremors, and a sonic boom that shattered windows miles away. Thankfully, Nightshade managed to spin a cover story about a malfunctioning weather balloon experiment gone wrong. It wasn't perfect, but it bought us precious time. Back at our makeshift HQ, a converted community center, the mood was tense. Dr. Sharma, usually the picture of composure, paced back and forth, her brow furrowed in deep thought. The disruptor, thankfully, still functioned, albeit with a depleted energy charge. We needed to understand what we'd just faced and how to permanently seal the tear in the sky. Days blurred into weeks as Dr. Sharma delved into ancient texts and obscure scientific journals. Jones and Miller, ever the pragmatists, started training for a potential second encounter, this time with whatever horrors might emerge from the tear. I, nursing a dislocated shoulder, found myself glued to Dr. Sharma's side, devouring the cryptic information she unearthed. One evening, amidst a pile of dusty tomes, Dr. Sharma unearthed a chilling discovery. The entity we faced belonged to a race of extra-dimensional beings known as the Whisperers. They fed on negative emotions, fear being their sustenance. Their arrival was no accident. They were drawn to the town's recent surge of fear and paranoia triggered by the paranormal activity. The tear in the sky, she explained, was a gateway, a potential bridge between our world and theirs. If left open, It could allow an entire horde of whisperers to pour through, wreaking havoc and feeding on the collective fear of humanity. Sealing the tear required a two-pronged approach. First, we needed to create a device to amplify Dr. Sharma's disruptor, giving it enough power to permanently close the gateway. Second, we needed to find a way to quell the negative emotions in Hollow Creek, to starve the whisperers of their fuel and weaken their hold on the town. The task seemed insurmountable. Building the amplifier required rare materials and expertise beyond our capabilities. As for calming a town gripped by fear, well, that felt like a fool's errand. But amidst the despair, a glimmer of hope emerged. While reviewing local news reports, I noticed a recurring detail, a community garden project that had sprung up just before the paranormal activity began. The project, spearheaded by a young woman named Emily Moore, aimed to bring the townspeople together through shared activity and fresh produce. Could a sense of community and hope be the key to weakening the whisperers? A long shot, but it was all we had. Reaching out to Emily, we explained the situation with a heavily redacted version of events. Of course, to our surprise, she believed us. Together, we hatched a plan. Nightshade, under the guise of government officials, would provide resources for the community garden project. Emily, in turn, would use the project as a front to spread positivity and hope. We'd turn the fear into a rallying cry, a call for unity against an unseen threat. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The community garden, fueled by Nightshade's resources, flourished. Emily became a beacon of hope, organizing town hall meetings and events that celebrated the town's resilience. Slowly, a shift began to occur. Fear started to give way to a newfound sense of unity and purpose. Meanwhile, Nightshade, aided by a team of engineers remotely guided by Dr. Sharma, toiled away on the amplifier. Days turned into nights, fueled by coffee and nervous anticipation. Finally, the day arrived. The amplifier, a hulking contraption of wires and glowing tubes, stood waiting. The tear in the sky remained, a malevolent eye staring down at us. We knew this was our only shot. Dr. Sharma, with a determined glint in her eyes, activated the amplifier. It whirred to life, bathing the cavern in a blinding blue light that channeled towards the pulsating tear. As the amplified energy surged, the tear convulsed, shrinking visibly. The remaining whisperers within, enraged by the loss of their feeding ground, shrieked in fury. From the corner of my eye, I saw shadowy figures clawing at the edges of the tear, desperate to break through. We held our breath, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Then, with a deafening crack that echoed through the cavern, the tear slammed shut, vanishing without a trace. The whisperers' shrieks died down, replaced by an eerie silence. Relief washed over us, heavy and intoxicating. We had done it. We had closed the gateway and saved Hollow Creek. But as the adrenaline subsided, a sobering thought struck me. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning.